From the time you could walk, you were told the same story. Be good, and the world will reward you. Be honest, be kind, be forgiving, and people will treat you the same. It's a comforting belief, repeated by those who want order without effort. But it's a lie, a dangerous one, because the world doesn't reward goodness. It rewards effectiveness. It doesn't measure your heart, it measures your results. And history remembers the men who acted, not the ones who simply meant well. Good intentions are easy. They cost nothing. They ask for no risk, no confrontation, no responsibility. That's why so many cling to them. It's moral safety without consequence. You can live your whole life calling yourself good while being powerless. And the world will smile politely while it passes you by. Because people respect strength, not sentiment. They trust competence, not purity. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He saw that power obeys laws far older than morality. The strong rule not because they are cruel, but because they are willing to do what others hesitate to. The world runs on trade, not of money, but of value. And when you lead with goodness alone, you offer value without demand. You become useful but forgettable, a resource, not a force. The truth is uncomfortable. Being good without power is an invitation to be used. Kindness without boundaries becomes servitude. Forgiveness without consequence becomes permission. And selflessness without purpose becomes disappearance. The man who tries to please everyone ends up respected by no one, because he teaches the world that his comfort matters less than theirs. This doesn't mean cruelty wins. Cruelty burns too fast. But ruthlessness, controlled, quiet, strategic ruthlessness, that's what endures. It's not about destroying others. It's about refusing to destroy yourself for them. It's the ability to make decisions that others avoid, to act when hesitation feels polite, to draw a line and never apologize for protecting it. The modern world hides behind moral theater, endless speeches about fairness, empathy, and virtue. But beneath the surface, the same primal laws rule as they always have: dominance, timing, perception, and consequence. The world doesn't care how pure your motives are. It only cares whether your moves change anything. So understand this: goodness without strength is noise. The world rewards those who can stay kind and capable, moral and unmovable. If you want to build something that lasts, stop trying to be liked. Start aiming to be respected. Because the truth is simple. The world doesn't punish evil. It punishes weakness dressed as virtue. And if you want to survive it, you must learn what Machiavelli knew, that the hands which build peace must also be strong enough to destroy it. The world doesn't remember why you failed, only that you did. It doesn't matter how pure your reasons were, how noble your intentions, or how hard you tried. In the end, results are the only language power understands. The man who wins is respected. The man who almost won is forgotten. Effort is emotional. Outcome is eternal. Most people live by excuses dressed as morality. They fail, and then they explain. To themselves, to others, to anyone who will listen. They say they didn't want to hurt anyone, that they were too honest for politics, too kind for competition, too real for manipulation. But the world doesn't pay you for honesty. It pays you for impact. It doesn't reward what you meant to do. It rewards what you caused. Machiavelli saw this flaw clearly. He understood that people forgive almost anything, except incompetence. Cruelty can be hidden behind purpose. Mistakes can be buried under progress. But failure leaves no cover. It exposes the truth. You didn't lose because you were good. You lost because you weren't effective. Power is pragmatic. It doesn't ask if you deserved to win, only whether you were capable of it. The moral man waits to be understood. The powerful man ensures he is unavoidable. The moral man hopes to be recognized. The powerful man creates outcomes so undeniable they force recognition. That's why ruthlessness works. Not because it's cruel, but because it cuts away the noise. It separates what feels good from what works. The ruthless aren't heartless. They're focused. They don't waste time proving purity. They prove precision. They understand that good intentions mean nothing if they don't translate into advantage. People will admire your kindness, but they'll follow your competence. They'll praise your virtue, but they'll obey your consistency. In every hierarchy, respect is earned not by how you feel, but by how you perform under pressure. The man who delivers becomes the authority. The one who explains becomes background noise. The world respects outcomes because outcomes create order. If you want to be taken seriously, stop arguing your morality and start refining your execution. No one can debate results. The moment you produce something undeniable, you stop needing permission. People start adjusting to your rhythm. So stop asking to be understood. Start becoming undeniable. Because power doesn't care about reasons. It only respects proof. The world forgives cruelty faster than incompetence. And in a world that runs on consequence, the most dangerous man alive isn't the one with the kindest heart. It's the one who can make what he wants happen. Ruthlessness has been misunderstood. People hear the word and imagine violence, manipulation, or arrogance. But real ruthlessness isn't cruelty. It's clarity. It's the moment when emotion dies and purpose begins, when hesitation burns away and only necessity remains. Cruelty seeks to harm. Ruthlessness seeks to finish. It's not about enjoying the cut. It's about knowing when it must be made. The weak confuse compassion with delay. They call indecision morality. They believe every problem deserves another conversation, another apology, another chance. And while they're hesitating, the world keeps moving toward those who act. Every empire, every success story, every leader who built something that lasted did so because he stopped waiting for the perfect moment to be liked. He learned that mercy at the wrong time is betrayal, not of others, but of himself. Machiavelli understood this difference perfectly. He never glorified cruelty. He warned against hesitation. He knew that most destruction in life doesn't come from malice. It comes from weakness pretending to be kindness. The ruler who cannot decide loses control. The man who cannot say no on time eventually says, "Sorry, too late." Ruthlessness is the discipline to make decisions that others avoid, and to make them without guilt. But here's the truth. To act with clarity, you must detach from emotion. You must be willing to disappoint, to offend, to be misunderstood. Most people can't do it. They want to be good and effective at the same time. And that balance is impossible in moments that matter. You can be moral in intention, but decisive in execution. The line is thin, but it exists. Ruthlessness without cruelty is when your actions cut, but only where growth demands it. This kind of strength doesn't scream. It doesn't need to. It's calm. It's deliberate. It's the doctor removing the infection while everyone else pleads to save the rot. That's what leadership often is. The courage to be judged by those too afraid to act. People will call you cold for being focused, selfish for being disciplined, heartless for being unshaken. Let them. The world doesn't understand clean precision. It only understands comfort. But comfort never built anything worth keeping. To be ruthless is not to lack empathy. It's to control it. It's to know when empathy heals and when it enslaves. Because mercy without boundaries is submission, and patience without purpose is decay. So stop apologizing for doing what must be done. You're not cruel for choosing clarity. You're cruel only if you lie to yourself about what the moment requires. Every downfall begins with emotion, not weakness, not lack of intelligence. Emotion. It's the most seductive weapon you'll ever hold. Powerful enough to move crowds, dangerous enough to destroy kings. The problem is simple. The moment you start using emotion, it starts using you. Anger feels righteous. Pride feels powerful. Desire feels alive. But every feeling comes with a leash, and the hand holding it is never yours. The one who can provoke emotion in you owns you. They can steer your focus, manipulate your timing, and distort your perception. The emotional man is the easiest to predict because he's the easiest to move. Machiavelli understood this long before psychology gave it language. He observed that emotion doesn't make men noble, it makes them noisy. The more you express, the more others learn your rhythm. The more they learn your rhythm, the easier it becomes to pull you off balance. That's why the powerful appear calm. They feel everything, but they reveal nothing. Control doesn't mean suppression. It means redirection. Anger can fuel precision. Fear can sharpen awareness. Pain can harden patience. But once those emotions leak out uncontrolled, they stop serving you and start signaling your weakness. A single flash of anger tells people where to aim next time. A single outburst of pride tells them what praise to withhold to make you desperate again. Most men collapse not because they're weak, but because they let emotion convince them they were right instead of strategic. They react before they think. They fight battles that didn't need fighting. They burn bridges that could have carried them further. All because they needed to feel victorious, not be victorious. Emotional control is the foundation of power. It's not a lack of humanity. It's an understanding of timing. You can't lead armies, run companies, or rule nations if you can't rule your face, your tone, your pulse. The strong speak less because they know emotion exposes pattern. They let others explode, justify, and exhaust themselves. Then move in the silence that follows. Learn to hold your state when others lose theirs. Because every emotional storm has the same ending, exhaustion. And the calm man is always standing when the dust settles. Power belongs to the one who can feel everything, but act on nothing until the timing is perfect. That's not numbness. That's dominance. The man who rules himself never needs to rule loudly. Power doesn't grow in noise. It grows in silence. Every man who has ever risen beyond the reach of others learned this. Authority begins where dependence ends. The moment you stop needing constant validation, the world starts recognizing your presence as something heavier, something rarer. Isolation is not loneliness. It's refinement. When you step away from distraction, from approval, from endless conversation, you begin to see the truth behind human behavior. You realize that most people speak only to silence their anxiety. They stay busy to avoid reflection. But the man who can sit in quiet, unmoving, unbothered, that man becomes a threat. Because silence gives him perspective, and perspective gives him control. Machiavelli would have called isolation a weapon disguised as absence. It's the space where emotion decays and precision forms. It's the pause between chaos and command. The weak fear it because solitude demands accountability. It forces you to face your own failures without distraction, without applause. There's no one to blame, no one to praise. only you and the mirror that doesn't lie. That confrontation either breaks you or builds you, but it always transforms you. Isolation also resets rhythm. The world moves fast, too fast. People react before they think, chase before they understand, speak before they know. But in isolation, time slows down. You start thinking in layers, not moments. You begin predicting outcomes instead of reacting to them. And when you return to the crowd, you move differently. You speak slower, listen deeper, observe longer. That difference unsettles people, because composure is a language the anxious can't translate. The man who can stand alone earns a strange kind of gravity. He's not begging to be noticed. He's not competing for space. He simply exists. And in that existence, people adjust. They lower their voices. They measure their words. They sense that your silence isn't emptiness. It's judgment. And that judgment makes them cautious, respectful, even obedient. That's how authority is built. Not through aggression, but through absence. The quiet distance between you and the noise becomes the space where others project respect, even fear. You don't ask for recognition. You create it by being the one man who doesn't need it. Isolation doesn't weaken you. It refines you into something fewer people can reach. Because when you no longer need the world's attention, you begin to earn its respect. You don't gain authority by shouting. You gain it by becoming a necessity. Reality is overrated. People don't see the world as it is. They see it as they've been conditioned to. They don't follow truth. They follow what feels true. And whoever controls that feeling controls everything. Power isn't about being right. It's about being believed first. Most men spend their lives chasing authenticity, desperate to be real, to be transparent, to be understood. But transparency is not strength. It's exposure. The moment the world can see every part of you, it knows where to strike. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Control the appearance, and you control the narrative. The powerful don't show the full picture. They show the parts that shape perception. Image is the armor of the strategist. It shields you from the unpredictable reactions of others. You don't need to lie. You need to select. Every detail, every gesture, every silence becomes a piece of the image you construct. The calm tone, the deliberate posture, the steady eye contact. These are not habits, they're architecture. You build perception one moment at a time until it becomes your advantage. The weak reject this idea because it feels manipulative. They think truth should speak for itself. But truth doesn't travel far without presentation. The strongest message will fail if delivered with weakness, and the smallest statement will echo for years if spoken with precision. That's why those who control perception seem untouchable, because they decide how they're interpreted before anyone else can. Power isn't about changing reality. It's about controlling what reality looks like to others. When people can't define you, they can't limit you. When they can't read you, they can't predict you. Uncertainty becomes your greatest shield. You can move freely because others are trapped in the stories they've built about you. Some will fear you, some will admire you. Both responses serve the same purpose. Attention under your control. The danger is ego. The moment you start believing your own image, you lose control of it. The image is not you. It's a mask you wear with discipline. It should protect you, not replace you. Machiavelli warned that a ruler who mistakes perception for reality becomes a prisoner of his own performance. The strong remember, image is a tool, not an identity. So build your image carefully. Speak less, reveal less, project more. Let the world see what benefits you, nothing else. Because truth may earn you understanding, but image earns you control. Power is never what it is. It's what it looks like. Mercy means nothing if you're not capable of punishment. It's not virtue. It's restraint. And restraint has value only when it's a choice, not a limitation. The world praises forgiveness, patience, and compassion, but only when they come from the strong. When the weak show mercy, it's not called goodness. It's called surrender. Power gives kindness meaning. Without it, kindness is camouflage, a way to hide fear under politeness. People sense it. They can feel when your gentleness isn't backed by strength. They won't respect it. They'll use it. You'll see it everywhere. The employee who's too nice to demand credit. The friend who avoids confrontation to keep the peace. The man who mistakes tolerance for virtue. These are not acts of goodness. They're acts of avoidance. And the world punishes avoidance more brutally than aggression. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He never glorified cruelty. He simply recognized that mercy without authority changes nothing. If your compassion carries no cost, it earns no respect. People trust mercy only when they fear what the alternative could have been. That's the paradox of power. Your kindness must feel like a gift that could have been a warning. Only then does it command loyalty. The ruthless are not heartless. They're selective. They know when to forgive, when to cut, when to hold silence instead of sympathy. They understand that unearned forgiveness breeds repetition. People will hurt you again if they learn that your boundaries have no teeth. Mercy is meant to restore balance, not to excuse violation. Weak men give mercy to avoid conflict. Strong men give mercy to end it. One does it out of fear, the other out of control. That's the difference between being good and being effective. When you withhold consequence, you're not preserving peace. You're delaying betrayal. Because people rarely change from kindness. They change from clarity. And clarity sometimes means showing what you're capable of, not to destroy, but to define the limits of respect. Authority is never established by endless forgiveness. It's established by the memory of what could have happened if you hadn't been merciful. So be kind, but never harmless. Forgive, but never forget the pattern. Show mercy, but only when it serves order, not emotion. Because the world doesn't respect how much you can endure. It respects how much you can enforce. If you cannot punish, your forgiveness means nothing. Every civilization that survived was built by men willing to do what comfort could not. Empires, families, systems, all of them exist because someone, somewhere, chose clarity over kindness, control over comfort, order over chaos. The world may praise compassion, but it runs on consequence. It is the ruthless, not the cruel, who hold it together. Ruthlessness is misunderstood. It's not violence. It's not ego. It's the discipline to act when others hesitate. It's the refusal to let emotion, guilt, or popularity dictate what must be done. The ruthless don't enjoy destruction. They prevent it by accepting the burden of decisiveness. They do what others won't, so that stability can exist for those who can't. Look through history and you'll see the same pattern repeating. The weak dream about fairness. The strong build systems to enforce it. The weak seek comfort. The strong create conditions where comfort can exist. Every society needs someone willing to draw the line, to end the debate, to make the call no one else wants to make. That's ruthlessness, the ability to prioritize what's necessary over what's pleasant. Machiavelli saw this not as cruelty, but as realism. He wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Not because fear is noble, but because love fades when it's not respected. Fear stabilizes what love cannot sustain. He understood that a leader who tries to please everyone will eventually serve no one, because he will betray the structure that made him possible. The ruthless aren't heartless. They're architects. They know that softness without control leads to collapse. They know that rules mean nothing if they're never enforced. They know that peace without consequence invites chaos. And so, when they act, it looks harsh. But it's deliberate, measured, necessary. They cut what's diseased to save what's living. They destroy a little, so the rest can last. Modern men have forgotten this balance. They've been taught to believe that being feared makes them evil, and being loved makes them good. But history doesn't care how you're remembered. It only records what survived. The world doesn't need more people desperate to be liked. It needs people strong enough to be disliked when it keeps the structure from falling apart. Ruthlessness is not the opposite of morality. It's morality with a backbone. It's justice, stripped of ego, discipline freed from apology. It's knowing that doing the right thing often feels wrong in the moment, but creates order in the long run. The ruthless don't chase chaos. They eliminate it. They bring peace through consequence, stability through clarity, power through restraint. They are not loved first. They are remembered last. Because in the end, good intentions write poetry. Ruthlessness writes history. You don't have to be cruel to win, but you must be willing to be feared before you're loved. Fade to silence. The camera lingers. The voice lowers. No music, just the sound of stillness, like a verdict finally spoken.